All right, what individual had the greatest influence on your wrestling career?
Thinking about that question, individual means there's one person, but I can't settle on one individual person that had the greatest influence. But I'll talk about my coaches, Kevin McCabe, who's the person that taught me my first wrestling move, Coach Bobby Stanley, who was one of my high school coaches, and also Coach Frank Patinio, one of my high school coaches as well. Those individuals combined as I look over my high school, elementary, college, and now myself in the coaching profession. Those individuals are the ones who continue to have a big influence on my life.
That's awesome. Who was your wrestling idol or hero when you were growing up?
Once again, it's hard to pinpoint one individual person, but my first pair of wrestling shoes that I like, that were mine, that were not donated, that my parents bought me for Christmas, were a pair of Kerry Colats. Kerry Colat was like, that wrestler, wasn't too flashy, but was very technical. He was probably the person that I think I looked up to the most when it comes to someone who I wanted to kind of emulate my wrestling style from, So yeah, I would say Kerry Colat is my biggest, one of the persons I looked up to the most. But then as a kid growing up in South Florida, you got guys like George Cintron, Patrick Williams, Mervyn Ford, David Mason, Matt Markowski. These guys are older than me in my same, generation, 3-4 years older than me. But seeing them wrestle, I wanted to kind of be like them. Those were the cool guys. So Kerry Colat is definitely at the top of the list. But then locally, I'm thinking about, those guys that I mentioned.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What personal attributes or abilities contributed the most to your success?
One of the biggest things for me, growing up in a Christian household, my dad's a pastor, my mom is, heavy in the church, growing up, my grandmother was Baptist, and faith, I don't know how you put faith as an attribute, but being able to apply my faith to my wrestling training, the moments when I felt challenged the most, being able to just lean on him. And my favorite scripture is Psalms 121. I look to the hills for coming to my help coming from the Lord, right? So any moment where I felt defeated, felt challenged, my faith would be the thing that lifted me. And even in victory, right? My faith will be the thing that I would do the most to show my gratitude for Christ and the opportunities that He gave me. So faith would be the number one thing for me.
It's awesome. What is the most outstanding memory you have as a competitor in the sport of wrestling? My
outstanding memory is actually wrestling on the first ever USA Wrestling Beach Wrestling World Team, 2026, competing up in Riviera Beach, making that team, and then going over to Istanbul, Turkey, with Team USA, and wrestling on the Mediterranean Sea, right? It's not your traditional style of wrestling. We're not on a mat. We're not wrestling freestyle or Greco. We're in the sand on these rocks, and being with Team USA in this foreign country and competing in a sport that really, when you think about it, was probably how it all started, right? On some grass fields, on some sand, dirt, and being able to actually compete in a place where wrestling originated. In the sand. I think that's probably one of my most fondest memories
That's awesome.
that I have in the sport.
Throughout your wrestling career, is there a single most memorable match or event?
So I have two memorable matches. My first memorable match was winning my first state title, and the second memorable match is winning my fourth state title. And those two things, because you set goals out for yourself, and being able to actually complete that goal when you set it out the beginning, and then also end it on finishing where you dreamed of finishing. Those are the two most memorable moments, and as far as when it comes to wrestling matches.
It's funny. Earl said 1 and 4 also. If you had the opportunity to start your career over again, Is there anything you would change?
It's funny you asked that question. I thought about that question over and over, and we go through life. We talk about, well, I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have did that. But the more and more I think about it, Dan, I don't think I would change anything, and I don't think I should change anything, because every decision I made at that moment, whether I felt at that moment it was right decision or the wrong decision, it was a decision that put me on the path that I'm on. It allowed me to be who I am today, and those decisions that I made that may be different from what people thought I should have made allowed me to continue to make the right decisions as I continue to move forward. So I don't think there was anything that I would change.
That's awesome.
No.
All right, in conclusion, what would you like for people to remember about you?
So there's a representative, a politician named John Lewis, and he said, "Get in good trouble." Right. So I want people to remember me as somebody that got in good trouble, somebody that stood up for what was right, somebody that was an advocate for change, an advocate for youth, and someone that spread love and happiness and encouraged people to live their lives to the fullest that they could, and continue to trust God.
That's awesome. Well said. Well, thanks for sitting down with me.
Thank you.